Welcome to Etrata, the Silencer. As far as our opening hand goes, yes, I love it. We have a really good opening hand. We have Bloodstained Mire, Ancient Tomb, Preordained, Plaguecrafter. Hopefully we can keep Adeliz off the battlefield, and we will keep on this one, see what our opponent said. Hey! And then best of luck to our opponent. They've seen the channel, so hopefully this will be a pretty fun match. But yes, we're playing Etrata, the Silencer, which I have just been really enjoying so far. I really enjoy decks that have some sort of kind of like alternative win condition, and this is definitely one of those. Let's go to get down Bloodstained Mire. We'll at least go for the Preordain, get the Scry 2, and then get the game started. Let's go and get down Bloodstained Mire. Let's go and crack Bloodstained Mire. Let's go and grab the Underground Sea, and then we're going to go for that Preordain, just to dig a little bit deeper into our library. There we go, Underground Sea. Let's go and go for Preordain. We're going to Scry 2, get the Scurry going, the Fever, and the Insanity. Do we want both of those on top? Yeah, I think we're okay with that, because we can use Seal of Removal to bounce Etrata back to the hand, and then Dark Slick Shores will definitely be another source. We'll go and keep both of these on top. Let's go and go for, since we probably will be online for Remand next turn, let's go and put Seal of Removal on top. We'll go and put Dark Slick Shores on top. That way we can draw into the other one next turn. And then anything else, we're going to pass the turn to our opponent. We're playing Etrata, the Silencer. It cannot be blocked. Whenever she deals combat damage to a player, exile target creature that player controls, and then put a hit counter on that card. That player loses the game if they own 3 or more exile cards with hit counters on them. Then shuffle their owner. We shuffle Etrata into our library once we get that trigger going. Let's go to get down Dark Slick Shores. Yeah, I think I like that. Let's go and get down Dark Slick Shores, and let's go and leave up Remand and see if we can't kind of catch something a little bit extra value, and then we'll pass the turn to our opponent. We're playing against Adeliz, the Cinder Wind, flying in haste. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, wizards you control get +1/+1 until end of turn. Now, what are we doing with the Etrata? This is basically I didn't really know exactly where to take Etrata. You can definitely build some sort of Voltron deck. You want to swing in with Etrata, get some combat damage going. But the more I kind of kept looking at it, the more I realized, this really works out really well as a Planeswalker deck. Kind of almost a black-blue Super Friends. Get a lot of Planeswalkers down. And it's going to force your opponent to do something about the Planeswalkers on the battlefield. If not, you can simply just kind of swing in and start getting down on Etrata and going for some of those combat damage triggers. Let's see what we're drawn to. Drawn to Island. Yeah, let's go and get down to Etrata. Are we okay with that? Yeah, let's go and go for it. It's going to be turn 3. And that way it's going to at least, whatever sort of creature, let's say they do tap out for Adeliz, that's going to allow us to get a hit counter onto Etrata. Now, as far as exiling, put a hit counter on it, I'm not entirely sure how that's going to interact with us exiling their commander if it goes back to the command zone. I don't know if it counts that way. We'll see how it's going to play out, but that's something we do need to kind of keep in mind. But yeah, for the most part, get down some Planeswalkers. You definitely need to have some sort of creatures on the battlefield to take advantage of, or at least kind of get rid of some of these Planeswalkers. So once we get these Planeswalkers going, that kind of gives us kind of that plan B win condition. And then once our opponent gets creatures going, we can use Etrata to jump out of the shadows with their big knife and kind of shank them. And I really love this card because it really reminds me a lot of Vampire Nighthawk, which is definitely one of my favorite cards getting into Magic, just kind of seeing her perched up there. Thought that was really cool. All right, opponent's going to get down Shared Animosity. Whenever a creature you control attacks, gets +1 for each other attacking creature, it shares a creature type with it. So at this point right now, we do have Etrata that's at least going to be able to swing across for a 3/5. Got a 7-turn clock with the Etrata, so if our opponent doesn't roll any creatures out, we can deal some commander damage. And that is one of the good things about Etrata, is that we deal combat damage. There's no creature to exile. Make sure that we're not going to... Yeah, we have to exile the creature for that shuffle effect to take into effect, so we're actually okay on that. Let's go and get down Island. Yeah, because we need to get down Island. It's going to keep us on Remand and Hero's Downfall. So we're going to get down Island. Let's go and swing in for 3. It's going to knock our opponent down to 27, and that'll put us at 3 total commander damage. All right, then we're going to pass the turn to our opponent. But yeah, outside of the Planeswalkers, this is pretty much just kind of a black-blue control deck. I really did find that I haven't got a chance to really utilize the ninjutsu ability yet, but that's definitely a good thing that you can use to kind of bounce Etrata back to the hand. But another thing that you can do to kind of keep those triggers flowing is to have some sort of tutors, or run a lot of tutors in here. I've kind of found that simply just once you get that combat damage going in response to the trigger, having some sort of really cheap effect like Seal of Removal or Vapor Snag to kind of bounce that Etrata back to our hand, it's almost better than using some sort of tutor ability to get that going. Let's go for Remand. Yeah, I think I like that. We get a little bit of a card draw off of this. Yeah, let's do that. Let's go for Remand. It's going to get a card draw. I'll at least be able to kind of go for a little bit of a tempo play and keep swinging with the Etrata. At this point right now, we want them to kind of get a few more creatures on the battlefield. And I love Remand. That's always... I used to play Soul-type Planeswalkers in Modern a lot, and I'll just run 4 copies of Remand. Have a lot of fun with that. Let's go and swing in for 3. We've got VK for Etrata, winning the game with the commander damage. We're definitely on track for that. Let's go and swing in for 3. That's going to knock him down to 24. That'll be 6 commander damage. And Adeliz does have haste, and that's going to put them at least getting it down for next turn. So we get down Island. Tezzer's going to be 6, 1, 2. You know what? Let's go and get down Tezer. And that's kind of what I was mentioning. You know, we could leave it up to kind of get down Seal of Remover to bounce Adeliz back to the hand. But at this point, this is pretty much what we want to do. We need to get that +1 ability, get that card draw going, and then we can slowly work towards that ultimate of -7. Let's go and go +1 up on Tezzeret. Draw the Ninja, okay? Then anything else, we'll kick it back over there. But yeah, like I mentioned earlier with Ninjutsu, with 2 mana activation, that's another way that you can cheaply get Etrata back into your hand. That way, let's say that once we deal that combat damage with her trigger on the stack, Ninjutsu does not really care at what point you swap it out. As long as you're swapping an unblocked attacker, you can pop down Ninja of Deep Hours. So that's another really good way for you to kind of bounce Etrata back to the hand, and especially with some sort of haste option like Hall of the Bandit Lord, that really kind of accelerates the ability to get Etrata's ability of exiling stuff, exiling your opponent's creatures. Okay, we do have Adeliz swinging in. We'll be swinging in at Tezzeret. Now, they do have at least 2 mana available at this point right now, so if they get some sort of, +1 bonus, they can certainly go for that. But for the most part, Tezzeret is sitting at a 5, and they'll be down to 3 loyalty. So once we get that +1 going, we're still in a pretty good position to get some pretty good card advantage going off of Tezzeret. So let's see what we draw into. We draw into Mana Crypt. I'm just going to plus up on Tezzeret. And then we draw into Swamp. Let's go and get down Swamp. Let's go and swing in with the Etrata. Let's go and exile Adeliz. I'm curious to see how that's going to interact with her going for the exile trigger with those counters if Adeliz goes back to the command zone. We're going to attack real Jace, not the fake Jace. I always enjoy checking out the different usernames out there. It's always kind of fun to see that. All right, so we got Etrata swinging in. And that's going to be Cyclonic Rift on Etrata. Do we want to go for Ninja of Deep Hours just to get some card draw going? We haven't gone for any sort of exile effect. No, that's fine, because we can actually recast it, so we're okay with that. So we're going to bounce, yeah, it's going to go back to the hand, so we'll take that. Let's send Etrata back to the hand. I would assume that Ninja of Deep Hours would actually be a different creature from Cyclonic Rift, kind of blanking that out, but I don't mind recasting Etrata for next turn, especially with Mana Crypt in our hand. Let's go and get down Mana Crypt. Let's go and get down, and that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4 for Etrata. And then anything else, Sky Diamond for 2. Let's go and get down Seal of Removal. And we could, if we wanted to, go for Playcrafter. That's going to keep Adeliz. Yeah, you know what? Let's go and do that. I think that's going to be a little bit better play for us to go through, other than going for something like Hero's Downfall, because they're completely tapped out at this point right now. So it's going to maybe, hopefully, force them to get down some sort of creature that we can definitely exile with the Etrata for next turn. We're going to go and sacrifice Playcrafter. And that will send Adeliz back to the command zone, and then anything else, we're going to go and pass the turn to our opponent. Yeah, but this deck is definitely a lot of fun. You know, as I've gotten into Magic, when I'm playing a black-blue deck, I've really enjoyed it, especially if it's a really grindy, kind of lots of spot removal, just kind of going for those really nice tempo plays. And this deck is definitely one of those decks. And one of the fun things about Etrata is she just suits really well to some sort of control finisher. Like, I would almost kind of compare her to something like Azor the Lawbringer. That's definitely one of those really good cards. It's a really good commander to begin with, but it just kind of puts you in this position to where if you can swing in with Azor, get some really nice get a really nice Sphinx of Revelation going, you have some good card draw that's really going to allow you to hopefully close the game out. Same thing with Etrata. She kind of gives black-blue something to do, something to close the game out. Even Wind Mage. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, it gets +1 until end of turn. Okay. And that'll definitely be a good option for us to kind of go and exile with Etrata too. We have the Mana Crypt Trigger. Let's go and choose Tails on this one. Lost a flip. It's going to be 0 for 1 on our Mana Crypt Triggers. And then we draw into Throat Slitter. Let's go and go for Tezzeret plus up on Tezzeret. Draw into Vapor Snag. Let's go and swing in with the Etrata. Now Etrata's going to swoop in from her perch and then grab the Wind Mage out of the air. All right, so we're going to deal that damage. Let's go and target our opponent. Let's go and go for Throat Slitter. Get that on the battlefield. It's going to be 1, 2, 3. That way we don't have to worry about shuffling Etrata or going back to the command zone. Okay, it's going to get exiled. Let's go and recast Etrata. And then let's go and get down Hall of the Bandit Lord, and then anything else. We do have Hero's Downfall, but we actually don't have enough mana, so let's go and get down the Sky Diamond. I could leave up Vapor Snag, but like I mentioned, since we have Seal of Removal, that's going to be more than enough for us, and we'll go and pass the turn to our opponent. Now check this out. So Magic Online recently updated the kind of the counters. So in some of my older videos, it was kind of hard to tell what the loyalty was on the Planeswalkers. So they added the Planeswalker loyalty, but as far as the hit counter, you can see they've got the little skulls on there. I don't know. I thought that was really cool, and they have different counters for different creatures. So there's the we have the Wind Mage up on the trophy wall at this point right now. And then we have the Mana Crypt Trigger. Let's go and choose Tails on this one. On the flip, 1 for 2 at our Mana Crypt Triggers. And then we draw into Delay. Let's go and go plus up on Tezzeret. Draw into Price of Fame. Let's go and swing across for 3 and then 5 with Throat Slitter. It's going to put them down to 16. That's going to be 12 total commander damage. And since we did draw for the turn, there's nothing else. We're going to go and pass the turn. That's the only downside to playing Etrata in 1 versus 1 is that it's not that she's necessarily overpowered. It's just if you don't have an answer, you don't really get a creature out, there's really not much you can do. She has such a good presence on the board. Like our opponent did try to get down Wind Mage and kind of, potentially get some sort of board state developed. But the fact that Etrata can swing in, if they recast Adeliz are looking at a 2/2 with haste. There's just certain decks that Etrata is just really good at kind of keeping in check, and then definitely a deck like this is one of those. I was going to choose Tails on this Mana Crypt Trigger. On the flip, 2 for 3 on our Mana Crypts. And then we draw 2 Marsh Flats. Let's go and plus up on Tezzeret, draw a card. And then draw 2 Pull from Tomorrow. Let's go and swing in for 5. And that will put them at 15 total commander damage, and we'll get an actual count on Pull from Tomorrow, but once we go for Pull from Tomorrow, that should definitely allow us to get a ton of card advantage too. Alright, opponent's going to go for Vincer. Yeah, let's go and go for Delay on that. Let's go for Delay on Vincer. And that's going to allow us to get in for 3. It's going to put us at 15 total commander damage, put them down to 11. Let's go to get down Marsh Flats. Now, we do know that we need to watch out for Vincer going back. It's going to be in the exile zone with those time counters. And then anything else? No, we're going to kick the turn back over to our opponent. Now, if we do end up tapping out for a Pull from Tomorrow, we're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we're looking at about 8 cards to draw from Pull from Tomorrow, which hopefully should give us a couple more Planeswalkers or some sort of action to kind of help us close the game out. But this is pretty much what the deck wants to do. We got a ton of removal with Vapor Snag, and then some really nice ninjutsu creatures. We could end up going for Ninja Deep Hours at this point right now for ninjutsu. But at this point, since we do kind of have a little bit more of a lock on the board state, we're simply just trying to close it out with commander damage at this point right now. Okay, the opponent's going to kick it back over to us. Yeah, let's go and crack Marsh Flats. We're going to go and grab a dual source for Marsh Flats. Let's go to grab Sunken Hollow. Let's go and tap out for Pull from Tomorrow. And since we are sitting at 17, I guess we could be a little bit caught. Yeah, let's just go and tap Ancient Tomb down. And that's, yeah, we'll just stick it. We won't tap down Hall of the Bandit Lord because that's going to be another 3 life. And that puts us down to 12, which is, don't want to be too crazy with that. Let's go and get rid of, at this point, we'll get rid of Watery Grave, because with Backwater, we'll at least get a life gain once it enters the battlefield. Okay, so we got the Mana Crypt Trigger. We're just going to choose Tails on this one. 3 for 4 on our Mana Crypts. Then you draw 2, go for the Throat. Let's go and get down Backwater. Actually, let's go for Tezzeret, draw a card. And draw into Polluted Delta. Let's go and get down Polluted Delta. Let's go and swing across for Etrata. That's going to knock them down to 18. It's going to be 6 total commander damage. Let's go ahead and go for, get down to Omnixilus, and we'll also go for Liliana. Okay, and the draw into Damnable Pact, which actually, that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That might actually close it. Let's try, we might be able to get it with the Damnable Pact. We'll give it a shot. Yeah, it's going to crack Pluto Delta. Let's go and grab Swamp, because that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, that'll be just enough. So let's go for Damnable Pact, targeting our opponent. Now, if they have some sort of counterspell, they have it, but at least we're going to leave it on the line and go for Damnable Pact. All right, there we go. Good game to our opponent. Unfortunately, this is probably not a really good matchup for Etrata. Adeliz is definitely one of those decks that wants to get a lot of cheap creatures on the battlefield and kind of swarm the board. But thankfully, with the Etrata, it's really easy for us to kind of keep some of these creatures in check. So definitely good game to our opponent. I'm sorry that Etrata kind of took control of the board state, but this is pretty much what she wants to do. You know, tons of removal, tons of tempo plays of bouncing stuff back to the hand, stuff like delay, stuff like remand. Basically, you want to put your opponent in this position to where it's really hard for them to get their game plan going, and this is definitely a good example of that. But if you enjoyed hanging out in the alleyways with Etrata, like and subscribe. Thanks. Bye.